Another month, another war. This is what seems to be happening right now with Afghanistan. It's as a Pakistani, as a Pashtun, as a Muslim, it's really unfortunate to be seeing Muslims fighting like this. And at the same time, it's also you don't know what's right and what's wrong in such a situation. What does seem to be clear is that for the longest time, the Afghan Taliban have been providing either open sanctuary and support to the TTP for attacks in Pakistan, and if not doing that, at least turning a blind eye and allowing them to conduct their activities here. What we know is that there are strong links between the Afghan Taliban and the TTP. They're through relationships and marriage and family and whatnot, but also through joint fight against the Americans, which they had for the longest time. The situation is very fluid, amongst fighters and this and that. So one day you could be TTP, the next day you could have been Afghan Taliban fighting the Americans back in the day. So they have that, right? What we've also seen is that there's been a lot of Indian sponsoring of many of the attacks in Pakistan, attacks that have been perpetrated by the TTP, by the BLA, by a number of organizations. Pakistan has been alleging, and I think not without evidence and not without actual, cogent material, that these attacks have been launched from Afghanistan. And in response to that, after months and months and months of suffering this, really since the withdrawal of, but even before the withdrawal of American troops, since then the Pakistani government has been trying to cultivate a better relationship with Afghanistan, trying to get at least this particular thing, the terrorism that has been perpetrated against Pakistan by the TTP, to be controlled. Asking the Afghan Taliban to, rein these elements in, stop providing them sanctuaries, stop providing them support, and ultimately, it fell on deaf ears, or it fell on the inability of these, Afghan Taliban groups, which again is not a single monolithic entity, but they weren't able to really give any sort of support there. And there's been, outside intervention. The Chinese have tried to mediate this. We've seen other entities. Over the last few months, we've had a breakdown in the relationship quite a bit. Border crossings have been closed down. There have been allegations and whatnot. This ultimately led to Pakistani strikes within Afghan territory, and notably in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. And so that has really upped the ante there. In response to that, they had, now they don't have an air force, they don't have the types of missiles that can strike deep inside Pakistan, like you saw in May with the Indians. So what they did was they sent men and weapons and armored vehicles to the borders and attacked Pakistani posts there. Those were repelled quite a bit. In fact, there's evidence showing that Pakistan went and destroyed many of their posts, many of their soldiers or militia groups or whatever they have been seen running through videos and whatnot. And Pakistan's taken over these things. I don't know what's right and wrong here. Right, and that's what the trouble is. I think a lot of people are confused, but neighbors need to really improve the relationship that they have, and especially neighbors where, that there's so much that binds these two countries together. So it's unfortunate that this is happening, but I also feel that the Afghan Taliban really need to understand who their friends are and who their enemies are. While this was happening, the Afghan Foreign Minister Muttaqi was in New Delhi. He was meeting with the Dovals and the Jaishankars and the apparatus in India that has very much been sponsoring violence, killing of innocents in Pakistan. And that was something that was, I think, taken quite badly. I don't think that the timing really was dependent on that. That's not why military strikes don't really depend necessarily on this type of symbolic timing and stuff. The statements that came from Muttaqi weren't the best. They weren't conciliatory at any time. What we heard was that there was then a ceasefire that was called or repeatedly asked for by the Afghan Taliban. Pakistan eventually agreed to it after it took out TTP and other launching pads of terrorism into Pakistan. And then we saw another flare-up of the violence. After the violence has subsided, we saw another flare-up. There was Spin Buldak, the friendship gate that had been erected as some sort of, diplomatic measure to improve relations between the two countries, that was attacked and destroyed. Pakistani soldiers, their bodies were mutilated. There were customs officials apparently who are missing at the moment, soldiers or guards who are missing. And this is something that is, not going to go well in the court of public opinion for the Afghan Taliban in Pakistan. What this does is that it makes more violence a lot more tempting. It really gives the green light to whoever, the hawks in the room, and allows them to take action further in there. And that, I think, is something that is counterproductive. Right now we need to find solutions to how we can resolve this issue, how the TTP can be, which is a well-established terrorist organization that has nothing good to offer really anyone here, how that can be neutralized. We are hearing a lot of things about talks that are taking place between these entities. Now, I don't know, rarely do these things have military solutions, but we're at a point where you have such a stubborn adversary that really there doesn't seem to be. What are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk on? Is there going to be a ceding of territory to these people? That just seems, unworkable, unmanageable, especially in a situation where you've had, these ex-Fatah has been merged now with KP. Are you going to carve out a piece of that and say this is a utopia for the TTP? And is that even fair for the rest of the rest of Pakistan? And what prevents them from taking up arms at a later date against this? So this is something that really needs to be looked at. We've seen some crazy theories coming out by a lot of jingoistic-minded Pakistanis as well, that we should create a buffer zone within Afghan territory. We should be taking over land there. We should redefine the Durand line because Afghanistan doesn't accept it. So why should we accept it? I think that's a lot of, hot air. I don't think that is workable. The one thing that, the Afghan Taliban have actually proven is that they are a very, potent militia, guerrilla force, right? And taking over territory is basically inviting that type of guerrilla tactics against you. And secondly, it's a violation of international law. You can't take over territory like that, right? If there isn't a military solution to this, or if we don't want to really go into a full blown out war, we need to sit down at the table and start finding solutions. And they need to realize that the solutions are between Kabul and Islamabad, not via New Delhi, right? New Delhi here is the mischief maker, and we can't have Doval playing a role in the resolution of anything that is happening there. They really can't offer anything to the Afghan Taliban because Afghanistan being a landlocked country, much of its trade has to go through Pakistan or Iran, right? And there are a bunch of reasons why Iran is not a preferred choice because of the relationship it has, but also because of the sanctions that are on this place. So India has been routed from that side because it wanted to use the Chabahar port to be able to supply Afghanistan, whereas Pakistan has been the traditional route. That to some extent, with Trump withdrawing the waivers from U.S. sanctions on anyone that dealt with Iran for Indian companies, that has been done away with. So now we're in a situation where Taliban are, dependent on Pakistan. The people of Afghanistan really are dependent, at least for trade and accessing the world. You have this concept, this obligation under international law of allowing transit trade to take place, and there are limited circumstances in which that can be, curtailed. What we're seeing now is Pakistan taking that option, which again is going to be terrible for the people of Afghanistan. Because there's much needed goods that need to enter the country. Secondly, we have a very strong cultural relationship with this, with the people of Afghanistan, right? Not only is it ethnic affinity, but it's also shared religions, shared culture, shared values. These are some of the things that we need to now come back towards and try to resolve what we have. As opposed to letting this get out of hand. Pakistan can't have, hostile neighbors on all sides. We've already traded missiles with India. We've traded missiles with Iran. Now we've traded missiles with Afghanistan. The only one left is the ocean and China, right? So that's what's left. Anyway, let's hope we can find a quick resolution to this. Thanks.
The revolution will be live.